Your LinkedIn offer sounds like everyone else's. Here's how to fix it. Your LinkedIn isn't struggling because you're not posting enough. It's not because you need a better content calendar, and it's definitely not because LinkedIn doesn't work for your industry. Your LinkedIn is struggling because your offer sounds exactly like everyone else's. And when your offer sounds like everyone else's, your profile attracts everyone, which means it converts no one. In this video, I'm going to show you what generic positioning actually looks like on a LinkedIn profile, why it's producing the wrong conversations or no conversations at all, and exactly how to fix it. Now, before I get into this, I want to tell you who this video is specifically for. If you run a boutique professional service firm, it could be a law firm, a consulting practice, a specialist agency, and you're good at what you do and you have clients and you deliver real results, but your LinkedIn is just okay. You post occasionally, you have a profile that's filled out, but the right clients aren't really coming from there. Now, what's happening in your DMs, if anything at all, is one of three things. Price shoppers asking what you charge before they know what you do, people who kind of disappear after they get the pricing, wrong fit leads who want something completely different, and then the calls that do book, sometimes they're the right fit and you're really wondering like what you're doing wrong to not convert them. And this is typically what I find that people are doing wrong, is that your profile really doesn't speak to any one person at all. Here's what I find a lot of people are doing wrong. Their profile is really, again, speaking to everyone, which means it's speaking to no one in particular, and no one in particular is not your client. Here's what generic positioning actually looks like, because most people don't actually recognize it in their own profile. They only see it in other people's profile. One thing that I like to say as a test is you should read your LinkedIn headline out loud and ask yourself, could any of my 5 closest competitors say the exact same thing? And if the answer is yes, then you have a generic positioning problem. Here are the 5 most common generic headline patterns that I see from boutique firm owners. I help businesses grow. Strategy and execution for ambitious teams. We help leaders scale. Consulting, coaching, training. Helping companies reach their potential. None of these are wrong. They just are not differentiating. They describe a category, but they don't describe you or your firm. And when your headline describes a category rather than a specific outcome for a specific person or firm, your profile attracts everyone who kind of fits that category. And that includes price shoppers, people who aren't sure what they need, people who need something completely different, people who think your fee is negotiable because they don't understand what makes you worth it or valuable. And you don't want that. Here's the test that I use with clients. The first question is, can someone read your headline and immediately know that they're your ideal client? The second question is, does your about section open with your client's situation or with your career history? And the third question is, would the right client read your featured section and think, this firm has done exactly what I need? If the answer to any of those questions is no, your profile is filtering in the wrong direction. It's letting everyone through and asking you personally to sort them out manually. You don't have time for that. And sorting them out manually is expensive. It costs you time, it costs you calls that go nowhere, it costs your energy, it costs the mental overhead of not knowing whether your marketing is actually working. It's very expensive. And that's why most boutique firm owners end up with generic positioning, not because they don't know their business, but because the LinkedIn advice almost always focuses on activity. Post more, connect more, engage more. And all of the activity advice skips the foundational question, which is, what does your profile actually say about who you help and why are you the right choice? It's not your fault, because a lot of people will build their LinkedIn profile the same way they build their first website. List a bunch of things they do, describe their services, add their credential, and assume the right people are going to figure out whether it applied to them. But high ticket buyers in professional services don't do that work. They don't decode your profile, they read it in 8 seconds and decide whether to stay or go. And if your headline is your job title and your about section is just what you do, then they're gonna go. Now, the second reason that this happens is that most people will write their LinkedIn profile for their peers and not for their clients. They'll use things like industry language, they'll highlight credentials that impress other professionals in their field, and they'll write the kind of profile that would get them hired, not the kind of profile that would get them hired by a client. And these are two completely different landing pages or documents or profiles. These are the things, like if you have a good profile, it's going to get you the right client, right? It talks about your client situation and not your background. Here's what you need to do. The fix is not to add more keywords to your headline, also because LinkedIn search function is not that great. And it's not making your about section longer. It's to reframe your positioning entirely, from like category based to vehicle based. Category based positioning kind of describes what you are. Management, consultant, HR advisor, business lawyer, those are all categories. Now, vehicle first positioning describes the specific method or system that you use to take your ideal client from where they are now to where they want to be. And when you lead with like the vehicle instead of the category, 3 things happen. 1, you sound specific, and specificity builds trust faster than credentials. 2, people self-select. The right ones lean in and the wrong ones move on, and both outcomes are good. And 3, your content gets easier to write because everything you post is anchored to the same method and the same outcome. Let me give you the before and after so this isn't really abstract. So here's the before. I help professional service firms get leads on LinkedIn. And then the after would be, I help boutique consulting firms build a LinkedIn to book call system that turns thought leadership into qualified conversations without hiring a full-time marketer. Read both of those things again or play this video back. The before tells you what I do, and the after tells you who it's for, what the method is, what the outcome is, and the friction that it removes. The before could describe like 50 people, and the after describes one specific approach and one specific result. And that's the difference between a profile that attracts everyone and a profile that attracts the right people. Here's like another example. Let's go with a law firm. So the before would be, we provide legal support for businesses of all sizes. I know you've seen that before. But the after would be, we help founder-led companies navigate employment law without the delays and confusion that come with working from a firm that doesn't understand how small teams actually operate. The after version immediately tells a founder-led company, yeah, this is for me. And immediately tells a large corporation, probably not. And that's the filter working correctly. Okay, let's do one more. I work with a lot of people in HR. So the before would be HR consulting for growing companies. And the after would be, I help companies between 200 and 100 employees build an HR infrastructure that handles hiring, performance, and compliance so the founder can stop being the de facto HR department. Now, the specificity here is the number of employees, and that eliminates half of the wrong leads before they even book a call. Once you have a vehicle first positioning clear in your head, it has to run your entire profile consistently. So not just the headline, every single section. Now, your banner should visually reinforce who you help and what you do. It shouldn't be a stock photo of a city skyline or your logo on a plain background. It should be something that communicates your positioning at a glance. Your headline should be vehicle first, so specific person, specific outcome, specific friction removed. And your about section should open with your client's situation, not your career, please. Explain the method briefly and then end with a clear step. Now, your featured section should have 3 tiles: one piece of content that demonstrates your thinking, one that links to your offer or booking page, and a piece of social proof. Your experience section should be written for clients, not recruiters, what you did to help other companies, not what your responsibilities were. Now, when all 5 of these sections are telling the same story, your profile stops being a digital resume and starts being a client acquisition tool. The reason most profiles don't do this is really not effort. It's because most firm owners have put real effort into their LinkedIn. The effort went into filling everything in, not making everything work well together. A profile where every section is complete, but they're all telling slightly different stories, is still a profile that doesn't convert. Conversion comes from consistency. The headline, the about, the featured, the experience, all of them pointing in the same direction towards the same person with the same message. If you're watching this video and you're sitting with the uncomfortable feeling that your profile might not be doing this, I want to give you the fastest path to fixing it. I offer a done-for-you LinkedIn profile audit, and here's exactly what happens. Step 1. You book a 30-minute strategy call with me, and on that call, we talk about your target audience, your background, your goals, and how you want to be positioned, and that context shapes what comes next. Step 2. Within 48 hours of our call, I'll audit your entire profile, your banner, headline, about, featured, experience, skills, and I'll write 2 headline options for you. I'll give you banner copy direction and update your banner if it needs replacing, and I put everything together in a full implementation strategy. So it's not a checklist, it's a prioritized plan. Now, step 3, you'll receive an editable Word document in your inbox or Google Doc, and it'll have everything that you need to implement. You can just copy and paste it right into your profile, and you can roll out the changes yourself. And the investment is minimal, especially because it's really going to hone your positioning. Remember, your LinkedIn profile is the first thing that a qualified prospect sees after they find your content, get referred to you, or Google your name. And it has to do its job. You have to make sure that every view that you get makes people convert. And this audit fixes that. So it's one flat fee, done within 48 hours, and the link is in the description. Again, generic positioning is one of those problems that's easy to live with because the cost is invisible. You're not losing clients you can see, you're losing clients who found you and spent 8 seconds on your profile and left without ever reaching out. Those are the hardest losses to measure and the easiest to fix. Now, the link is below. I'd love to take a look at your profile.